What is it about ghost stories that just kind of gets under our skin and
Do you guys see this?
begin to question, is it real?
Hello? Guys?
And now, our feature presentation.
Oh, hello. I didn't see you there. Why are you in my house? I'm just kidding. Of course, you can stay. I'm just reading a fairy tale. I was wondering, since you're here and I'm not going to let you leave now, would you like to hear it? It's not very good, but I'm going to make it good. It's a story called The Girl with the Red Riding Hood. I know, it sounds different, but it's better. It's sexier. It's more vibrant, and I think you're gonna like it. All right, are you ready? Sit down. Once upon a time, there was a small Gothic village nestled in a green valley, surrounded by snow-capped mountains and under beautiful sky, like the sunshine after a storm. This is a fairy tale world where all of your dreams and your nightmares are real. There's a large inn with an outlook tower, a blacksmith shop, a church, and a graveyard crowded with headstones. The houses have heavy shutters and carved totems to ward off demons. A young family works in their garden. Their 2 daughters sit nearby. Valerie, age 8, is already a bewitching beauty. She braids her older sister's hair. Lucy, 9, is cute, but on the plain side, unlike Valerie's fierce eyes and tousled hair.
Are you finished? How do I look?
You're pretty as a princess.
She hands Lucy a mirror. Lucy smiles at her reflection, touches her hair, the lavender, and the girls hug. We follow young Valerie through the village, carrying a water pail. She passes vendors selling fresh vegetables and bread cakes. She stares at a sign with a painting of 3/4 moon. A man removes the sign and places it with an angry full moon, while another leads a pig up to the temple. Valerie quickly walks out through the main gate towards the well. Then, suddenly, whoosh! A boy jumps down from the tree in front of her, scaring the shit out of her. It's Peter, 11. Already tan, muscular, with a wicked grin, he reaches out his hand, an invitation to adventure. She looks over her shoulder. Nobody's watching. And Peter's smile is all but irresistible. Valerie stashes the bucket into the bush, and they dash into the woods. We find an enormous oak tree shimmering in the sunlight, and Valerie and Peter nestled in the roots, laying on their stomachs next to each other. Their attention is on an animal trap made of sticks and twine. A bunny hops into it, then snap! It snares the rabbits. The kids scramble out of hiding, running with bare feet over rocks, little savages.
Do you have the knife?
Peter whips out his sharp little knife. It is not a child's game anymore. The rabbit struggles for its life.
What do we do now?
Camera zooms in on Valerie's intense eyes, then pulls back from their same eyes 10 years later. Valerie is now 17 years old. She stands in the forest, Tone body in a corset dress and feminine calfskin boots, looking out through the branches, spying on a dozen woodsmen, including her father, working to widen a clearing. Valerie's eyes are fixed on one young man in particular, Peter, now 21, darkly handsome, powerfully built. He swings his axe. He's damn good at this. We hear a soft humming and shift to a field of wheat, tall and golden, and we find Claude, 16, red-haired, big-boned, a kid that's grown too fast for his body. He holds a scarecrow out of corn husks and some battered tarot cards. We just get a sense that he's different. One of his cards get caught in the breeze, and he jumps up and follows it. The chopping of an axe takes us back to Peter working with the woodsman, and then crack! A huge pine tree crashes down. He buries his axe in a stump and goes to get water. Claude moves faster through the wheat. The wind keeps the tarot card out of his reach, just beyond his fingertips. Finally, he grabs it and smiles. But then he sees something. Back in the forest, Peter realizes his axe is gone. The other men are distracted. He walks into the forest and sees the giant oak from the memory. Now Valerie stands under the oak holding his tool, giving him a look that would launch 1,000 ships. Peter shoots one right back at her. Paris to Helen.
Give me that.
What will you give me for it?
She offers the axe to him. He reaches for it, but at the last second she snatches it away. Peter's face darkens as he steps towards her. She backs into the oak. Peter is very close, but not touching. She gazes up at him, a little nervous, but thrilled by his intensity. He strokes her cheek.
They didn't tell you.
Tell me what?
Your mother brought back breakfast for the men this morning.
I know. I had to help make the biscuits. Mine were the lumpy ones.
I heard her talking to your father. They've arranged for you to marry Henry Lazar.
So Mother finally got what she wanted. Money.
And Henry got what he always wanted. You.
She leans against him, their lips very close. They inhale each other's breath. There's a desperate, panicked look in her eyes. And just like the day with the rabbit, she says,
What do we do now?
Do you want to marry him?
You know I don't.
Prove it.
What do you want me to do?
Run away with me.
Where would we go?
Peter's lips brush her ear. He whispers into it as his hand slips around her waist, pulling her closer.
Anywhere you want. The ocean, the city, the mountains. You're afraid.
No, I'm not.
Really? You leave your home, your family, your whole life?
I don't care about anyone but you.
I thought you'd say that.
Valerie mock punches him. He grabs her wrist, intense.
Let's do something about it.
Just then, a horse chuffs. Valerie turned towards the two horses standing on the other side of the little brook tied to a wagon.
We'll be half a day's ride before anyone even knows we're gone.
I'll race you.
You'll lose.
She tosses the axe and bolts towards the horses. Back in the field, we're running with Claude now, feet flying over crushed wheat stained with blood. He rushes, passing the wolf's temple where the altar is empty and the full moon sign hangs. He reaches the tavern door, pounding for attention. His mother, Marguerite, charges angrily from behind the bar.
What is it? I'm working.
Marguerite lunges for Claude as his sister, Roxanne, runs between them. Eyes wide, he stutters, desperate to say it out loud. Finally, Roxanne pulls him close, providing her ear as a safe space to listen. It takes a moment, but she fully understands.
Mama, it's the wolf.
Mother and daughter stare at the boy who cried wolf. As we return to Peter and Valerie sprinting towards the horses, crazy, giddy, joyous. Peter is fast, but Valerie is faster. He's almost caught up with her, reaches out to grab her, but she does a gazelle leap across the brook and lands on the other side, when the clanging of the church bell stops her. Nobody will look at Valerie as she rushes into the village.
It killed a human.
It can't be. We've kept the peace.
Well, the wolf has broken it.
She comes upon 3 sobbing girls her own age, Claude's sister Roxanne, serious-looking Prudence, and sultry Rose.
Who is it? Tell me.
Your sister.
Villagers gather at the field's edge as Valerie grows nearer. They move out of her way, leaving one couple isolated, their backs turned away.
Mother? Father?
Now they turn to her. The man is Caesar, Valerie's father. Once handsome, but hard labor and drink have taken their toll. Such sorrow in his eyes. The woman is Suzette, Valerie's mother, a striking woman, completely devastated by grief. Valerie looks past them to see the body of her sister Lucy, now 18, sprawled and trampled by the wheat. Sprawled in the trampled wheat. Bits of cream-colored paper are scattered by the wind. Her dress in tatters, claw marks on her ample flesh. All sound drains away as the wheat field seems to swirl around Valerie. She drops to her knees and takes the hand of her beloved sister, clutching bits of paper in her hand. Later, Valerie's cottage is crowded with grieving neighbors. Small but cozy, one room for cooking and eating, a bedroom, a clove behind the fireplace, and a sleeping loft up in the rafters. Roxanne, Rose, and Prudence prepare Lucy's body in a lavender dress for burial. César watches, slumped in the corner, drinking from a flask. Suzette reaches out to him, but he waves her away. There's a loud knock at the door. Suzette looks through the peephole.
It's the Lazars.
Rose can't help herself. Even in the midst of a tragedy, she primps, squeezes her breasts together, and tightens her corset. Suzette quickly tries to tidy Valerie's hair, but she pulls away, climbing up the ladder to her sleeping loft. There are 2 pillows still indented where Valerie and her sister slept the night before. Below, 3 generations of the wealthiest family in the town enter the cottage. The well-dressed woman, Madame Lazar, and the blacksmiths, her son Adrian, and her grandson Henry, 21. Their fine clothes are a stark contrast to the humble surroundings. Henry is dashing in a long leather coat, carrying a bundle of elegant white lilies. Prudence and Roxanne blush, but Rose greets Henry with a shameless smile and a deep curtsy, showing off her cleavage.
Hello, Henry.
But Henry's looking for Valerie. He spots her in the loft. She shrinks back. Suzette's eyes flicker with irritation. Madame Lazar offers Suzette a casserole in a china dish.
I am sorry for your loss.
Henry helps Madame Lazar to a chair. Adrian hugs Suzette and then hugs César.
Lucy was a good girl.
In the loft, Valerie watches with dread as her mother climbs up the ladder towards her.
He wants to offer his condolences.
Barely even know him.
You'll get to know him.
Not now, Mother.
I didn't love your father when we were married. I was in love with someone else. But I grew to love your father, and he gave me 2 beautiful girls.
She touches Lucy's pillow sadly, then stands up.
Now go down there, please.
Down below, Henry sees that Valerie does not want to talk to him.
Come with us to the tavern.
Let the women grieve in their own way.
Valerie gives Henry a grateful look as he and Adrian escort César towards the door. They enter the tavern with the stenciled beams and carved bar and curving staircase leading to the guest rooms. All of the men are here. Father Auguste tries to calm them.
We should count our blessings. It's been almost 20 years since the wolf has taken a human life.
Because we sacrifice our best livestock every full moon, we starve so it can eat.
But we made the sacrifice last night. We've kept our end of the bargain. So why now?
Maybe it was that moon. Did you see it? Like dark crimson.
So now the wolf feeds on us?
So now we kill it.
All eyes go to Adrian, who is entering the tavern with César and Henry.
No. It's time to ask for help.
From God?
No. From someone close to God.
What have you done?
Back in Valerie's cottage, Valerie is tenderly braiding her sister's hair. Lost in painful memories, she pinches off a piece of lavender and ties it to her belt. Suzette hears a noise on the porch. Creak! Suzette opens the peephole door. Only her eyes appear in the tiny opening, startling Peter. He is placing a candle on the porch.
Lucy.
Get out of here.
I'm paying my respects.
I know why you're here. I've lost one daughter. Valerie is all I have left. You have nothing to offer her.
I have a trade. The same one as your husband.
I know exactly what a woodcutter earns. That's why Henry is her only hope for a better life. If you really love her, you'll leave her alone.
She slams the peephole door. Back in the tavern, the drunken men watch Adrian approach Father Auguste.
I asked you a question.
I've summoned Father Solomon, the witch-finder general. He's destroyed werewolves and witches throughout the kingdom. He's a legend. He'll rid us of this beast.
He'll rob us of our vengeance.
She was your child, but any of our children could be next. We've seen the bones on the trail to Mount Grimor. That's where the wolf makes its lair. Inside the cave. We all know it. You've just been too cowardly to do anything about it. And now this man's daughter is dead.
We've let this go on too long. We have hunters. Let us hunt it.
Perhaps Father Auguste is right. Perhaps we should wait.
There's a stifled laugh from the back of the room. Henry looks back. If it came from Peter, he wasn't gonna give it away. From their looks to each other, we get a sense that Henry and Peter have been rivals their whole lives. Two young alpha males in a small town from different sides of the tracks. Adrian grabs a drink and shoves it into Henry's hands.
Perhaps, my son, you should find your courage.
Henry shoves the drink back at his father, defiant.
You want to hunt the wolf? Let's hunt it.
The Reeve stands up and pounds his mug. Gung-ho! Others join in. Back in the cottage, Suzette and Madame Lazare put away the food. Valerie tries to piece together the bits of paper. They seem to have some words scrawled in the ink on them, but the pieces are too small to read. Across the room, Rose whispers to Prudence.
Why was she outside on a wolf night?
And with that evil red moon?
The beast came in here and took her.
And nobody heard anything? In a house this small? Don't you sleep in the same bed with her?
Maybe she snuck out to meet a boy.
My Lucy didn't even notice boys.
Oh, she was very taken with my grandson. She used to come by and follow him around like a puppy. If she found out that night that Henry was engaged to her sister, it must have broken her heart.
Oh, it's so romantic.
Maybe she chose to die rather than live without him.
It's unthinkable.
She never told me how she felt.
Don't worry, dear. Henry always had his eye on you. You're the pretty one.
Madame Lazare strokes Valerie's cheek, strangely suggestive. Just then, Rose hears something and goes to the peephole.
The men are leaving.
Outside, the men stream from the tavern with axes, picks, and a few old swords. Father Auguste stands in the tavern door.
We should wait for Father Solomon.
A man leaving the tavern pours a beer over Father Auguste's head to shut him up. They head out of the village. Wives and children spill out of their homes, dismayed at the sight and clamping onto their father's legs. Valerie finds Peter, who steps into a woodshed before Cesar catches sight of them. Valerie follows.
Be careful. I just lost my sister. I can't lose you two.
Valerie takes his hand, but he pulls away, though he's aching to touch her. Her neck, her back.
We can't do this anymore. You have to go through with it. You have to marry Henry.
But you know I don't want him.
She is luminous in the dark shed, her eyes brilliant and passionate. This is ripping him apart.
Don't make this something it's not. We had our fun, but that's all it ever was.
I don't believe you.
Peter blasts past her and rejoins the march. Valerie, shattered, collects herself and walks out through the main gate, finding Henry.
I made something for you. I was going to wait until our wedding, but...
It's a simple, elegant copper bracelet. He slips it on Valerie's wrist.
You will be happy again. I promise.
There's a hint of sexual confidence in Henry's tone. At the dark wood's edge, the men leave their families and step the final few paces into the forest, swallowed up by the trees. Adrian walks alone. Cesar strides up next to him.
Thank you for standing up for Lucy. It was no small thing.
We'll be family soon. You'd have done the same thing.
Peter, axe in hand, senses something and turns, catching Valerie as she ducks behind a tree. She's dressed in a gray cloak, tracking the men stealthily through the shadows like a huntress. They approach a wonderful, eccentric tree house just off the path. Mushrooms and herbs grow in hollows of the tree trunks. Birds nest in the branches. This is grandmother's house. The door opens and Valerie's grandmother steps out. She climbs down the stairs, an exotic beauty, and hands Cesar the dried mushrooms wrapped in cloth.
Be careful, son.
Mother and son look at each other, full of pain, but trying to remain stoic in front of the men. They embrace tightly. Then Cesar breaks away. Grandmother watches the men of the village head deeper into the trees towards Mount Grimoire, a rugged mass of twisted black rock, a place the devil could call home. Low on the horizon, a faint full moon, deep red.
Look at that moon. It's a bad omen.
Let's get it, boys. It's not coming to us.
Grandmother stands on the steps of her cottage, eyeing the trees. Valerie reveals herself from the darkness.
Grandmother, Lucy's dead.
I know, dear. I know.
We shift, seeing the village locking down for the night. Father Auguste watches a family chain a goat to the altar. The inside of Grandmother's cottage is cozy and magical. Massive tree trunks come from the floor and through the ceiling. Dried herbs hang from the branches. Shelves are filled with books. A fire blazes. A cat sleeps at Valerie's feet.
There were so many things she didn't tell me, and I'm her sister. I should have known.
It's not your fault. We all have secrets.
Grandmother ladles a stew into a bowl for Valerie, trying to cheer her up.
My old granny used to say, there's no burden so heavy that doesn't seem lighter on a full stomach.
Valerie takes a bite of stew. Framed in the high window is the ominous Mount Grimoire, with the red orb hanging above it. They can see the torchlights of the men moving up the cliff.
Are you still cold?
Grandmother goes to an ornate hope chest and pulls something out.
Try this on.
She lays a beautiful, deep, red, hooded cloak about Valerie's shoulders, pulls the red hood up around Valerie's head. She is stunning.
Did you make this?
Yes. I've been saving it for your wedding.
Doesn't feel like my wedding. Feels like I'm being sold.
Oh, Valerie, I wish you could follow your heart.
Not much of a chance of that. All my mother cares about is money, and my father's too drunk to notice most of the time.
The men have almost reached the cave and pass around a flask to bolster their courage. Henry catches up to Peter.
It could get dangerous in there. You better watch yourself.
Peter hears the veiled threat in Henry's words and shoots him a sharp, "Don't fuck with me" look.
Tracks!
Large, fresh wolf tracks lead inside the cave. Drawing his sword, the Reeve charges on, and the others follow into the wolf's lair. In the cottage, Valerie and Grandmother watch the torches vanish one by one as the men enter the cave.
When I was young, the wolf took entire families. We started sacrificing animals to appease it, and the killing stopped. I thought those dark days were over.
The Reeve leads the men deeper into the glittering cave. Torchlights reveal 2 tunnels branching off.
We should split up.
The men try to be brave. Caesar takes a drink from his flask, stealing his nerves. Wind rattles the shutters of the cottage. It's late, but Valerie's too distraught to sleep. Grandmother lights some sage and blows it across a streaming mug of tea.
Drink this, Valerie. It'll help you sleep.
Is that witchcraft?
Nonsense. Just an old family remedy.
Valerie takes a tentative sip. Grandmother watches. Valerie grows soft and woozy.
My sister is dead.
Grandmother strokes her hair tenderly.
I know, dear. Drink a little bit more.
Valerie drinks. Her heavy eyes gaze into the fire. The men come to the fork in the tunnel.
We'll take the steep one.
No, we should stay together.
But Peter is already climbing down the steep tunnel. Henry reluctantly follows his father down the other path. In the cottage, Valerie is nearly asleep, clutching the lavender sprig on her belt, on the edge of her dreams.
The wolf killed Lucy.
Valerie looks around drowsily, but there's no sign of Grandmother. Henry stops. He hears something. The wind blows out the torch. Blackness. The Reeve comes across the bloody paw print on the rock floor, when a horrible scream echoes from another tunnel. It's a man's scream, a man being tortured. The Reeve turns to it. The wind rips the flame from his torch. Blackness! The only sounds are terrified breathing and fast footsteps of a man running in fear. There's a dim light in this tunnel, and we see the Reeve. The dim light comes from ahead. There's a hole in the rock ceiling where the moonlight shines through. As he nears, the Reeve sees towers, 10 feet tall, made of human bones, and a wooden shield with claw marks. The Reeve turns to see Adrian, his gut and groin savagely ripped open. The Reeve hears a low growl. The Reeve spins to see a snarling gray wolf. Terrified, the Reeve stumbles into the pile of bones, losing his sword. The wolf lunges again, but the Reeve grabs the wooden shield and uses it to knock the wolf aside. The wolf crash lands, and the shield cracks in half. The wolf whirls towards him again. The Reeve, desperate, draws the only weapon he has left, a hunting knife. It's sharp, nasty, but small. Then the wolf leaps. Bang! Valerie startles awake in her grandmother's cottage. She's fallen asleep by the fire, still wearing the red cloak. She looks around. Bang! A loud noise from her grandmother's bedchamber.
Grandmother?
The silk veil to her grandmother's chamber ripples. A slight breeze is blowing it. Or is it a person? Valerie approaches. She reaches out a hand to draw back the veil, but hesitates.
Grandmother?
She opens the veil. Grandmother sleeps under the covers, turned away from Valerie. We don't see her face, just a shape in the bed. The black cat is curled up beside her. The bedroom window is open, and the shutters bang again. Valerie quickly closes the window, shivering. She turns back to grandmother, but she hasn't stirred. In the shadows, her shape looks strange, elongated. Uneasy, Valerie tiptoes closer to the bed. Suddenly, the shape rises up from the bed. It's grandmother. She's groggy, but smiling.
Good morning, dear.
We shift to the tavern as Valerie enters. Everyone is here. Men, women, children. There is drink, joy, and laughter. The Reeve sitting at the bar with a severed wolf head next to him. He reenacts the hunt, flashing his knife. Across the room, she sees Peter. He sees her, too, longing to talk to her. Outside, in the window, the undertaker's cart travels past, carrying Adrian's body. Madame Lazare follows, wailing in grief. César stands and raises his mug.
To Adrian.
To Adrian!
Adrian!
For his sacrifice.
Valerie leaves the tavern and enters the blacksmith shop. Henry hammers a red-hot hinge, his back toward her. The fire radiates intense heat, and Henry is stripped to the waist. He's ripped. Valerie watches him, working out his raw pain in the fire.
Your father was a brave man.
I was close enough to smell it, but I was afraid. I hid from it. I should have done something. I should have saved him.
Henry, I've lost someone too. Please come away from the fire.
He keeps pounding. He burns his forearm, but he doesn't react. Valerie steps closer.
Henry, turn around.
He just pounds harder. His dark shape is twisted and made beastly by the shadows of the fire.
Leave, Valerie. I don't want you to see me like this.
As Valerie hurries out of the shop, she sees Suzette looking through the window of the Lazare house, staring at Adrian wrapped in a shroud, surrounded by mourners. Valerie sees the depth of her mother's grief. Adrian was obviously more than just a neighbor. Suzette looks at Valerie and rushes away, but Valerie catches up to her.
Mother, you told me you loved someone else before you were married. It was Henry's father, wasn't it?
Suzette walks faster.
Lucy was in love with Henry. She was a year older than me. She could have married him and brought wealth to our family. Why did you insist that it was me?
I think you know the answer.
I want you to say it.
Lucy was Henry's half-sister. She was not your father's daughter.
Am I his daughter?
Yes. I was already pregnant with Lucy when your father and I married.
Does Papa know about Lucy?
No. Promise me you won't tell him.
But she was interrupted by the pounding of horse hooves. Father Auguste rushes out of the church, smoothing his hair.
He's here.
8 soldiers ride through the gate atop armored stallions, escorting a staff car and an armored battle wagon filled with 8 more soldiers. A masked bowman rides atop the coach, manning a crossbow like a machine gun. Behind this coach is a metal cart with a life-size bronze bull on it. The captain opens the door. A striking man with gentle blue eyes emerges from the coach. He wears a beautiful leather long coat, leather gloves. His hair is swept back like Bono. This is Father Solomon. He turns back to the coach, where 2 little girls sit next to their guardian.
Don't cry. See all these children. See how scared they are. There is a big, bad wolf here. Someone has to stop it.
Is it the beast that killed our mother?
It may very well be.
He kisses each of them on the head, then sadly nods to their guardian, who pulls the girls away from their father as he closes the door. The driver pulls out, escorted by 4 soldiers.
It is indeed an honor, Your Eminence.
You and your men have arrived just in time for our festival. As you can see, the werewolf has been dealt with.
He proudly displays the wolf head.
That's no werewolf.
Maybe it doesn't look like a werewolf now, but you didn't see it when it was alive.
Alive or dead makes no difference. That's not the head of a werewolf.
No disrespect, but we've lived with this beast for 2 generations. Every full moon, it takes our sacrifice. We know what we're dealing with.
No disrespect, but you have no idea of what you're dealing with. I was the same way once. My wife's name was Penelope. She gave me 2 beautiful daughters. We lived in a village like this, plagued by a werewolf. One full moon, we decided to hunt it. It never even occurred to us that we might actually find it. But we did. It ripped my best friend in half. Quickly, but not so fast that I didn't hear his spine snap. And then it was on me. All I saw was yellow teeth. I hacked at it with my axe, and suddenly it was gone. I had cut off one of its front paws. I thought it would make a clever souvenir, and so I took it home. There I found my wife with a bloody rag tied around her left wrist. And when I opened my sack, the werewolf's paw was gone. This was in its place.
Solomon pulls a woman's mummified hand from a leather sack.
I told my girls that the werewolf killed their mother, but that was a lie. I killed her. When a werewolf dies, it returns to its human form. That's just a common gray wolf. Your werewolf is still alive.
Reeve and the other villagers follow Solomon to the tavern as he speaks.
The werewolf has 3 weaknesses. First is daylight. The sun returns it to its human form. Second, it can't cross onto holy ground in its animal form. Third, there is silver. One penetrating blow will kill it.
Solomon unsheathes his sword and places it on the table. The blade gleams. The gem-encrusted hilt depicts Christ on the cross. Jesus' eyes are diamonds, his blood rubies. Father Auguste's eyes light up like a fanboy.
This is one of only 3 swords blessed by the Holy See. May I touch?
This is a very dangerous time. You've all seen that the moon has turned crimson. You all know what that means. You have no idea what that means. This is the week of the blood moon. It is the height of the werewolf's power and the only time a new werewolf can be created. During a normal full moon, a werewolf attack will merely kill you. But during the blood moon, a werewolf can turn any man by biting him. But if a werewolf bites a woman, she will not turn unless she already has werewolf blood. During this week, a werewolf is so powerful that even in his human form, a bite in the daytime will change a person. Until the blood moon wanes in 3 days, you will never be truly safe.
He's interrupted as soldiers carry in Adrian's shrouded body and place it on a table for examination.
These bruises, this is where the wolf held him in its jaws, squeezing so he wouldn't scream.
But he did scream. We all heard him.
Only when it wanted you to. The animal you killed was lured to that cave, same as you were.
The animal I killed was the wolf.
That's what it wants you to think. It wants you to think it's dead. You've been deceived by this beast, right from the start.
The wolf couldn't have fooled us unless it knew we were planning to hunt it.
But it did know. The cave you found wasn't its home. It made you think it lived on Mount Grimoire so that you wouldn't look for it in the most obvious place. The wolf lives here, in this village, among you. The killer could be your neighbor, your best friend, even your wife.
Valerie clutches her lavender sprig. She looks around at Henry, Madame Lazare, the Reeve, Peter, her parents, her girlfriends. Could they have killed Lucy? Should she be suspicious? Then she notices they stare suspiciously at her, too. Solomon turns to the captain.
Barricade the village. I want men at every gate. No one leaves. The next 3 nights will be the most dangerous. The wolf's urge to spread the curse will be strong. We must stop it.
I'm sorry you came all this way for nothing, but we've already done your job for you. The wolf is dead. Tonight, we celebrate.
The sound of a loud horn carries us over to the festival. Tables are laid out with roasted pig, a pyramid of kegs, flowing like a waterfall. Teenage boys rip down the full moon sign. Acrobats do backflips off a windmill. This village needs a party. A teenage boy in a wolf costume jumps out and startles everyone by flashing his bare butt. He dances and thrashes, knocking Claude, who was dancing, to the ground.
Who's afraid of the big bad wolf?
Another teen steals his pointed cap as they run off. Roxanne hurries to help him.
Someone has to look after him. No, but who looks after her?
Suddenly, there's a burst of laughter. Valerie's father has passed out drunk. The teen in the wolf costume is pretending to hump him.
I'll huff and I'll puff.
Valerie grabs a firewood log and whacks him to the ground. She drags Cesar to his feet.
You're my good girl. I'm so sorry.
Okay. Now go home, Papa.
She tenderly but firmly steers him towards their cottage and joins Prudence.
Looks like Rose has a new conquest.
Valerie looks through the crowd. She sees Rose dirty dancing with Peter. Whoa! Valerie grabs a mug of ale from a passing reveler and gulps it down. We shift to the village outskirts, where a celebration can be heard from the distance. The village is in lockdown. Claude wanders up to one of the soldiers at the main gate and reaches out a hand. Claude snatches a card from the soldier's ear. The soldier laughs. In the shadows, Solomon watches, suspicious. Just then, Roxanne runs up, takes her brother's hand.
Come back to the party, Claude.
Back in the village square, the fiddler has been joined by drummers and bagpipes, a ruckus medieval jam sesh. Valerie grabs Prudence and dances with her, wild, drawing attention, pretending not to watch Rose booty grind up on Peter. Henry stumbles towards Valerie with a beer, clearly the latest of many, and sees that she's watching Peter. Henry glares at him, then pushes his way towards Peter and grabs his shoulder.
Henry, take it easy, friend.
You left us. I said we should stick together, but you left us, and my father's dead because of it.
Please don't do this.
Henry brushes her aside, but too hard, and she stumbles. Peter's eyes flash in anger. He instantly grabs Henry's arm. Henry overreacts and punches him in the eye. Peter falls on his ass. He's bleeding.
You keep your hands off her, or I will cut them off.
Valerie sees Peter's hand on his knife, tucked in his belt.
Peter, don't.
He leaves. Rose reaches out to him, but he ignores her. Valerie shoots Henry a harsh look, then hurries after Peter. Henry watches her go.
Don't bother trying to run. You know I'm faster than you.
Leave me alone.
You're bleeding.
So what?
Peter pulls Valerie into the shadows and lowers his voice.
What is the matter with you? What do I have to do to make you stop?
Peter, I love you.
Valerie has never said this to him before. She's brave with the drink.
And what the hell are you doing with Rose? You don't even like her.
I don't have to like her to get what I want from her.
You're a terrible liar.
She presses her hand against his chest.
I feel how fast your heart is beating.
She gazes up at him. He tries not to look in her eyes, but he can't stop himself.
You can say you don't care about me, but I know you feel like I do. You're burning inside.
He pulls back her sleeve and fiercely grabs the bracelet Henry gave her.
I'll never be able to give you anything like this.
You think I care about Henry's money?
You have a future with him. I'm not going to let you ruin that.
Did my mother get to you?
Valerie, I'm wrong for you.
I don't care.
Valerie suddenly kisses him. He starts to push her away, but resistance is futile. He takes her in his arms and they kiss, long and hard, their imprisoned feelings suddenly bursting free. Peter sweeps her up and carries her inside a nearby windmill. Inside, Peter pushes Valerie against the wall with his body. She gasps. He kisses her neck. She responds, twisting, arching her back. Peter lowers Valerie into a pile of straw. She guides his hand to her breast. He hesitates.
Don't you want me?
Peter answers by unlancing her blouse. They can't keep their hands off each other, seeking each other's souls. But we see Henry watching in the shadows. At first he is fascinated, but his feelings quickly turn to rage. He is about to step forward when two woodcutters stumble into the windmill. Peter pulls Valerie into the shadows, but the woodcutters see him.
Peter, give us a hand.
They load a keg into a wheelbarrow. From the shadows, Valerie whispers to Peter.
Only life I want is with you.
Valerie yanks Peter into the darkness and gives him a thunderbolt of a kiss. Body electric. She leaves Peter tormented, breathing heavily. He shakes it off, and then goes to help the men. No one noticed Henry watching from behind the shaft, but Henry saw it all. Whoosh! A giant wolf effigy is lit in the square. Kids race across glowing coals in their bare feet. Sparks flit through the air like fireflies. Valerie joins the crowd next to Roxanne, who notice her disheveled dress. She plucks a piece of straw from Valerie's hair.
Where did you disappear to?
You know, all that soft hay in the windmill.
Suddenly, the church bell rings. Urgently, everyone falls silent. Then, a howl. Suddenly, something massive lands in the middle of the crowd. It's the wolf, a monstrous, dark shape. So big it makes the wolf in the cave look like a chihuahua. The Reeve stands up bravely, brandishing his hunting knife. The wolf swats the knife away like a toothpick and kills him instantly. It's a rampage! Nearly a dozen people are dead in what feels like a moment. Villagers flee in a blind panic. Roxanne sees Claude get knocked down. Claude! 4 villagers throw off their cloaks, revealing themselves as soldiers. Each of them draws a weapon tipped with silver. The wolf whirls on them. Solomon gallops in, flanked by the captain and his brother.
Get to the church.
Solomon holds his sword above his head, silver gleaming in the moonlight.
You will die now, beast.
Villagers trample one another. Rose loses sight of Claude. Valerie grabs Roxanne's hand, staying with her. Solomon grabs the wooden stake and shakes the severed wolf head to the ground. The captain and his brother unfurl bullwhips and ride at the wolf. Crack! Crack! They've strangled the wolf between them. Then, suddenly, the wolf abruptly raises his hind legs, standing like a man, and howls.
It's strong.
Have faith. God is stronger.
The wolf whirls around, growling, flinging a soldier into the burning effigy, which explodes. Solomon's horse rears, spooked. This is not going according to plan. He kisses a crucifix around his neck.
God is stronger.
And spurs his steed to action. Just then, Roxanne sees Claude running away.
Claude, wait!
She starts towards him, right in the path of Solomon's onrushing steed. Valerie knocks Roxanne to the ground just as Solomon's horse leaps over them. The wolf catches the stake, vaulting Solomon face first into the fire. The coach bursts into the square. The wolf ducks a hail of deadly arrows. Solomon gets to his feet, brushing hot cinders off his face. He is burned, but he has his sword in hand. Valerie and Roxanne run through the town like rats in a maze.
Claude, where are you?
Suddenly, there's a noise behind them. It's the wolf. They run around the corner, but the alley is blocked by a high stone wall. Valerie instinctively scales it and reaches back to help Roxanne.
I can't climb that.
Valerie leaps down to help her, but the wolf has closed in. The girls are backed against the wall. Then, inexplicably, the wolf speaks.
As if you could outrun me.
Oh my God. You speak?
What are you doing?
I've come to set you free, Valerie. You're like me, a hunter.
No, you're a murderer. I'm nothing like you.
You've killed too. I know your secrets.
We flash back to the memory from the start. Young Valerie holds the bloody knife in one hand and the dead rabbit in the other.
I can smell it on you even now.
Suddenly the wolf stands on its hind legs, putting its forepaws on the wall on either side of Valerie. Its muzzle only inches from her face.
What big eyes you have.
The better to see you with, my dear.
Then suddenly the skin on either side of the wolf's brow separates, revealing a second pair of eyes. Human eyes.
I see what lies in your heart. You want to escape from this village. You want freedom. To do what you want. To be who you want. To follow your heart.
No.
Come away with me right now. I promise no one will ever tell you what to do again.
Father Solomon will stop you.
Father Solomon doesn't know what he's dealing with. Come away with me, or I'll kill everyone you love, starting with your friend.
Solomon and the masked bowman turn the corner. The bowmen open fire. The wolf leaps atop the wall.
I'll return for you before the blood moon wanes.
Then it leaps away, furious. Solomon snatches the crossbow from the bowman and scrambles up the wall after the wolf. He aims the crossbow and the wolf is gone. Solomon brings Valerie and Roxanne inside the church. The captain bolts the door.
You're safe here. God protects his house and those within it.
Valerie looks up where the village men have been enlisted to board up the windows. She thinks she sees Henry and Peter working among the men.
You talked to the wolf.
It talked to us.
It only growled. You heard it talk to you?
No. Don't tell anyone. They'll call me a witch. You can't tell Prudence or Rose, not even my parents. My parents. Where are they?
Valerie hurries inside her family cottage, frantic. Suzette is lying in bed. Cesar sits at her side, shaken. With great effort, her mother turns her head slowly towards Valerie. Suzette's face has been horribly slashed. She's scarred for life. A slight snow drifts down, dusting the trampled bodies of men and horses. The aftermath of the Wolf's massacre. Madame Lazare watches from her window as families search for their loved ones. Father Auguste blesses the dead. The captain crouches near his brother, who is alive with a badly wounded leg.
Bring me water! Hurry!
Tendrils of poison snake out from the wound. This is no ordinary bite. Something is happening to this man. Something horrible.
I warned you.
Solomon appears, walking through the cloud of smoke. There's something different about him this morning, an almost crazed look in his eye.
Your werewolf is still alive!
The villagers shiver, but not from the cold. Father Auguste steps forward and kisses Solomon's ring.
We were wrong to have doubted you. We're at your service.
You damn well better be. I'm here because one of you is a werewolf. Your homes will be searched. Your secrets will be brought to light.
The villagers are suddenly very aware of the soldiers surrounding them and the weapons in their hands.
If you are innocent, you have nothing to fear. But if you are guilty, I swear on my children, you will be destroyed.
Solomon's hand goes to his sword as he looks down at the captain's brother. The captain steps in front of him.
He's my brother.
It's a blood moon. A man bitten is a man cursed.
He draws his sword and abruptly plunges it into his brother's heart. A loud knocking takes us to Valerie's cottage, where she opens the door without removing the chain.
Peter.
She looks at Peter's dark brown eyes. Is he the wolf?
Valerie, we're all in danger. We've got to leave. Get your things.
I can't go now. My mother's been hurt.
Valerie.
I don't have a choice. I'm sorry.
She shuts the door and bolts it. Inside, a dark figure crouches over her mother's body. The flickering firelight has distorted the shadows of her grandmother, who is changing Suzette's bandages. Is grandmother the wolf? She stares at Suzette's horrible claw marks, then at grandmother's long, sharp fingernails. Scared, Valerie slips a pair of scissors from the nightstand into her cuff.
Valerie, don't leave me alone.
You need to rest, dear.
Grandmother helps Suzette drink a cup of sleeping tea. Then, Valerie and grandmother tiptoe into the kitchen. They wash the soiled bandages in the wooden bucket.
You have a secret, don't you?
The wolf. It talked to me.
And you understood it.
Grandmother stares at Valerie suspiciously, secretly slipping a kitchen knife into her hand.
As clearly as I understand you.
Who have you told about this?
Only Roxanne knows, but she won't tell anyone. She won't even talk to me about it.
Why didn't it just kill you?
I think it wants me alive.
Valerie steps towards the soft light of the window. She looks honest and innocent. Grandmother releases the knife. What was she thinking? This is her darling granddaughter, in trouble.
But why you, Valerie?
Valerie looks at her grandmother in the soft light. She tucks the scissors into her pocket. What was she thinking? This is her dear grandmother. Concern.
I don't know. But if I don't go with it, it will kill everyone I love. It's already killed Lucy. It's coming for me before the moon wanes.
That's only 2 days from now.
I don't know what to do.
We shift as Valerie carries the bucket to the well. She passes Roxanne and Marguerite.
Has Claude come home?
But they pass her without answering. Valerie continues to the well. There's no one else here. Valerie lowers the bucket. The winch creaks. Valerie looks down into the well. Her reflection looks back at her. Henry appears behind her.
I'm breaking off the engagement. I saw you with Peter. I'm not going to force you to marry me. I don't want you unless you want me. Like that.
Valerie removes the bracelet Henry gave her and hands it to him.
It's lovely.
Henry pockets the bracelet and walks away. Valerie leans over the well and starts to retrieve her bucket when another dark figure appears in the water. It's the captain.
Come with me.
He pulls her by the arm into the tavern, where Solomon and Father Auguste drink.
Our scribe was killed in the attack. We heard you read and write.
My grandmother taught me.
Solomon slides a leather-bound ledger towards her.
Don't embellish. Write exactly what I say.
Valerie nods, relieved. She looks through the ledger for an empty page. She glances at fabulous sketches of demons and witches, an impressive history of kills. Valerie stops on a drawing of Solomon struggling to slay a beautiful demonic woman, labeled Penelope, his wife. Solomon snatches the ledger from her and flips to an empty page. Valerie takes the ledger and picks up the quill.
4 soldiers dead. 10 villagers.
The tavern owner serves a platter of salted venison. Solomon removes his glove and starts to eat. For the first time, we see his hands. His fingernails have been filed to laser-sharp points and plated in silver. Whoa! Father Auguste, eyes widen.
Surely you have slain many such creatures.
Never one as strong as this. This one is something special. The curse is hereditary. Each generation is more potent than the one before. A beast this powerful must come from a long, uninterrupted bloodline.
Solomon viciously tears at his meat.
I lied earlier. I don't just want to kill this beast. Not anymore. I want to make it suffer. We'll have to find it in its human form.
Ow! You said it yourself. It could be any of them.
It hasn't survived this long by being obvious. Look everywhere. The signs will be subtle. Isolation, witchcraft, black arts, abnormal behavior, strange smells.
Smells?
Well, none of them smell good. But we must find it. I don't care how we do it.
Solomon rips apart a leg of venison, his mouth and fingers gleaming in the firelight. He gives Valerie a sharp look.
This is important. Any time you want to write it down, dear.
He sees her worried look at her fingernails.
Silver.
We shift to where Valerie walks home when there is yelling in the distance. Villagers rush towards the commotion. Valerie spots Roxanne. She's sobbing and looking up. Claude has climbed up the windmill. Below is Father Auguste, standing with Solomon and his soldiers, weapons at the ready. Roxanne launches herself at Solomon, but the masked bowmen block her.
Ne conjugar noviscum.
It's Latin for don't fuck with me.
I saw him at the festival. He's not the wolf. He hasn't done anything.
I want him interrogated. Look at him.
Claude looks down at them, crouched like a gargoyle, scared, agitated. He does seem possessed.
His speech is twisted. He communes with demons. He practices the dark arts. He's a conjurer.
That can't be. I know him.
Better than I knew my own wife.
He shows her a battered tarot card.
This was found near the body of your dead sister.
He performed magic. I saw it for the devil's work, but they gave him money.
You know he hit his head as a child. He's never been the same. Just because he's different doesn't mean he's guilty.
Innocent people don't run.
Father Solomon turns to the masked bowman.
Get him down from there.
The bowman and 2 soldiers start to climb the walls. Claude sees them. He climbs up, panicked, ducking under huge spur wheels that could grind him to a pulp. The soldiers trap Claude at the top platform, brandishing their scythes. Claude backs away and into the captain. Roxanne begs Father Auguste.
Can't you do anything?
But he avoids her gaze. We cut to a beautiful stone ruin where Father Solomon has selected as the impromptu interrogation chamber. Soldiers drag Claude to the brazen bull, a brazen torture device with a door in the belly. A fire burns beneath it, heating the brass to a red-hot glow.
Tell me the name of the wolf.
Claude stares, silent, confused. Solomon nods. The soldiers stuff Claude inside and slam the door.
Tell me the name.
Claude thrashes inside the hot metal container, screaming in pain.
The Greeks invented this. It's an ingenious system for extracting the truth.
How can he give you a name? The boy can barely speak.
We do this for the greater good.
What's the good in this?
Sometimes God must use the tools of evil. This is the business of werewolf hunting. You'd best develop a stomach for it. He stays in there until he gives us a name.
We shift to the tavern deserted, except for Solomon drinking hard. The captain ushers Roxanne in. She drops some meager coins on the table.
I'd like to bargain for the release of my brother.
Solomon eyes the coins, not sure whether to be amused or insulted.
I have more than money to offer.
Trembling, she opens her cloak, showing Solomon her bodice and bare shoulders. Solomon gestures for her to turn around. Roxanne does as instructed.
Is this your idea of a bribe?
Roxanne covers herself, humiliated. Solomon nods, and the captain drags her away, struggling.
Wait, I have something else. Spare my brother, and I'll tell you the name of a witch.
Ah, now that is worth something.
The bar is now arranged like a makeshift courtroom. Everyone's here. Cesar, grandmother, and Suzette in a scarf that mostly covers her scar. Peter in the back. Valerie stands in the front wearing shackles. Solomon and Roxanne stand next to her.
Tell them what you told me.
She can climb the tallest trees. She can run faster than all the boys. She wears a red cloak, the devil's color. And she can talk to werewolves. I've seen it with my own eyes.
Do you deny it?
No, I don't deny it.
And what was the nature of this conversation?
It said you don't know what you're dealing with.
What else did it say?
It promised to leave the village in peace, but only if I leave with it.
The wolf is someone in this village who wants you, Valerie. Do you know who it is? I'd think very hard if I were you. It wants her, not you. If you want to save yourself, simply give it what it wants.
We can't give her to the wolf. That's human sacrifice.
We've all made sacrifices.
Henry looks around for support. The villagers avert their eyes. Solomon nods for the captain to take Valerie out. Villagers file outside. Solomon enters his coach. Father Auguste follows.
I thought you were sent to kill the wolf, not appease it.
I have no intention of appeasing it. The girl is the bait for our trap.
Solomon and Father Auguste pull off in the coach, revealing Madame Lézard speaking with Rose and others.
Her grandmother lives all alone in the woods. The first victim was her sister. The second was her fiancé's father. And don't forget her poor mother, scarred for life. If the girl isn't a witch, then how do you explain it?
Walking past the gossip mongers, grandmother actually seems to be paying attention.
Don't listen to her.
She's not wrong. Valerie's at the center of this.
Henry spots Peter through the crowd and hurries up to him.
I thought you cared about her.
Do care, but I'm trying to be smart about it.
You're going to rescue her. I'll help you.
Not that desperate.
Oh, really? What's your plan? You don't have one, do you? Look, I've got a shop. Tools. You need me.
Okay, fine. But if you're the wolf, I'll chop your head off and piss down the hole.
And I'll do the same for you. With pleasure.
Across the square, Roxanne approaches the captain.
Where is my brother? Father Solomon told me you'd release him.
We did.
The captain leads Roxanne out the back. Crows pick at something in a wheelbarrow. Claude lies dead. Roxanne falls to her knees. The crows take flight. Her heart is ripped out. Peter arrives at Valerie's cottage to find a wary Caesar. He brings a wagon with a kerosene barrel.
I'm going to save your daughter. And then I intend to marry her. I would like your blessing in this, but I can live without it.
Caesar sees that he is earnest. Overcome with emotion, Caesar reaches out and embraces him. We shift to a makeshift cell in the ruins. Grandmother looks through the door at a freezing Valerie. A soldier stands by.
Is there anything you need?
Valerie stealthily lifts her skirt, showing the knife tucked in her boot.
I don't want you to have to use that. We have to find the wolf by sundown.
That's not much time.
I know, but hear me out. The wolf never used to attack in the open like it did at the festival. So why did it show itself?
Maybe it's this moon?
Or maybe it was a mistake. It wants you. But first it killed your sister. What if it had to kill randomly at the festival to hide the fact that the first killing wasn't random at all?
The wolf didn't choose Lucy.
Your mother said it snuck into your home and took her.
That's not what really happened. I think Lucy gave herself to the wolf. I didn't know it, but she was in love with Henry, and when she heard about my engagement...
She took her life because of a boy.
In the blacksmith's shop, Henry is hammering out a piece of metal on an anvil.
Hello, Henry.
We're closed.
I just wanted to thank you for speaking up this morning. That was very brave.
I said what I felt.
You're under no obligation to stand in Valerie's defense. You broke off your engagement to her.
She's in love with someone else. That doesn't mean I stopped caring about her.
Henry dips the strange-looking key he's working on into a tub of water. Hiss.
Well, I imagine that's just the same way Lucy felt about you.
She had a crush on me.
Valerie just told me. Lucy probably would have done anything for you. She would have even agreed to meet you on a wolf night, if you asked her to.
Why are you doing this?
Because I want you to confess. You killed Lucy, and your father, and God only knows how many others. You're the wolf. Admit it! Admit it and save your soul!
As she says this, a slow look of dawning realization and horror comes over him.
It's you.
Henry steps closer, almost seductive.
My God, it's you. I can smell it on you now.
What are you talking about?
The night my father died, I could smell the wolf, a deep musk. And I smell it on you now.
Upset, Grandmother inhales. Henry stands too close to her, his eyes too bright. Her breath comes quickly.
What do you do out there in that cabin all by yourself, in the middle of the night?
I go to sleep after I drink my tea.
And then what? You don't know, do you?
Grandmother rushes out of the door and almost collides with Peter, who's chopping wood. A loud clang shifts us to the village square where two carpenters hammer wooden posts together, building something at the Wolf Temple. Peter stacks kindling near the abandoned shop. Caesar pushes the kerosene around the square in a wheelbarrow, nonchalantly leaving a trail of kerosene in the snow. Suddenly the captain steps up, flanked by soldiers. Caesar stands between the barrel of kerosene and the captain, trying to hide it.
You're coming with us.
Caesar makes a run for it, drawing soldiers away from the barrel, charging through the snow, leaping over a horse trough. The captain draws a baton and throws it at Caesar's ankles, tripping him into a faceplant. The soldiers are on him in an instant, dragging him to his feet.
I haven't done anything.
Just a precaution. Father Solomon doesn't want any trouble from the witch's family.
The soldiers haul him away. The door to Valerie's cell opens. It's Solomon. He throws her cloak to her.
Put on your harlot's robe.
Valerie reluctantly pulls on the Red Riding Hood. Solomon cuffs her wrists. Just then, the captain hauls Cesar, bruised and badly beaten, downstairs and drags him towards another cell. Valerie tries to run to him, but the guard stops her.
I tried to protect you. You and Lucy. I'm sorry.
All right, Papa. You taught us to be strong.
Yes. Now stay strong, Valerie.
We shift as Solomon's coach lurches down the main street. Valerie trudges behind it, chained to the back of the coach and wearing a humiliation mask. An iron mask with tiny eye holes. This one is shaped like a wolf. The villagers watch her stumble through the slush, too fascinated by the surreal image to turn away.
Not so pretty now, is she?
Now your grandson can find a proper wife, madame.
Solomon and Father Auguste stand next to the Wolf-Head Temple. In the wolf's open mouth there is now a newly constructed wooden stockade. Valerie is placed in it with the mask still on. The captain snaps 3 locks into place. Father Auguste blesses her, then he and Solomon walk away as Suzette suddenly appears.
Let her go, you bastard!
She raises her hand to slap him, but he catches her wrist.
You should go home. You should all go home.
The blood moon rises, bathing the entire sky in an eerie red glow. The night is nearing. Everyone has left. Valerie is suddenly aware of someone approaching, and she braces herself. This is it.
Valerie?
Prudence leans into view, and Valerie relaxes.
Can you hear me?
Yes. Yes, I can hear you.
Roxanne wanted you to know how sorry she is. She only said those things to save her brother.
I know. Will you tell her that I forgive her?
Of course. But I wanted to say... I don't know what to say.
You don't have to say anything.
I want to. I want you to know that you may have fooled Roxanne, but you don't fool me. Not anymore. You're always too good, too pretty. Nobody could be as perfect as you. You tricked us. Now you're gonna get what you deserve.
Prudence, I think you'd better go.
It won't be long now. The wolf is coming.
Prudence walks away from the stockade. Valerie is left alone. Solomon watches from the top of the windmill. He stares at Valerie, the wolf head on her perfect body. Father Auguste climbs up a spiral stair onto the platform.
Do you know how you kill a tiger, Father Auguste? You tie out your best goat and wait.
Valerie waits in the stocks, nerves frayed. Soldiers watch in tense silence. Atop the windmill, Solomon gazes out at the darkness. Obsessed, like Captain Ahab scanning the seas for his white whale. A dark figure crouches by a crumbled wall and lowers a torch, touching it to light the kerosene that Cesar left in the snow, and whoof! The flames emulate Peter. The fire tracks all the way to the abandoned shop and the kindling bursting into flames. Solomon signals the soldiers who rappel down, kicking snow onto the fire. Suddenly, Henry appears in front of Valerie, covered in a flowing cloak.
I'm going to get you out of here.
Henry pulls out a ring with the key we saw him making earlier. As soon as one hand is free, she reaches for the knife. Madame Lazare looks out at Valerie and the fire before stepping back into the shadows. At the stockade, Henry has opened 2 locks. The soldiers have doused the fire. They're returning to their positions. Valerie looks at Henry as he is about to free her. Can she trust him? In the windmill, Solomon squints through the smoke. Peter sneaks up behind the soldier and knocks him unconscious with an axe handle. He lights the windmill with his torch when 2 more soldiers tackle him. They wrestle in the hay as the windmill starts to burn. Father Auguste, Solomon, and his men quickly start to evacuate. Solomon heads down the spiral stair first, of course.
He's here.
Solomon points to the cloaked figure helping Valerie out of the humiliation mask.
He's taken the bait.
Father, it's not a wolf, it's a man.
He's aiding a witch.
The captain draws an arrow aiming at the figure. Solomon nods to the captain to go ahead. Father August charges down the stairs. The captain takes aim, but Father August spoils the shot. The arrow whizzes by Henry. The arrow whizzes by Henry's head.
Run!
Solomon angrily plunges a dagger into Father August's chest. Father August stares at Solomon in shock, eyes locked. Solomon watches the lifeless body of the holy man tumbles down the spiral staircase. Solomon walks down the stairs. The captain won't look at him. At the bottom of the stairs, 2 soldiers approach Solomon with Peter.
This one started the fire.
Lock him in the bull.
Behind the stockade, Henry has led Valerie away, running. She looks back. She can see Solomon's soldiers giving chase.
Come on. Peter's meeting us with the horses behind the silo.
She still holds her knife, concealed under cloak. We shift to the village where Solomon and his soldiers are raising the alarm, turning the crowd into followers.
The witch has escaped!
Back in the ruins, the bull rocks back and forth, a body banging against metal. The statue sways on its platform.
Valerie.
Henry leads Valerie around the back of the silo and stops short. No Peter, no horses.
He should be here by now.
Valerie realizes she's alone with Henry in the dark, secluded place. She raises the knife, ready to strike, but hears a howl of the werewolf. Valerie looks at Henry, who sees the knife in her hand.
Oh my God. I'm so sorry, Henry. You're not the wolf.
Right. Now could you put the blade back in your boot?
Henry, when was the last time you saw Peter?
But Henry spots a group of soldiers and pulls Valerie back into the silo.
The witch has escaped.
They're everywhere.
Henry looks at her, full of yearning, and puts his hand on her waist. Valerie stops breathing as he slides his hand down her leg and pulls that knife from her boot. He peeks out at the soldiers, moments away.
The church.
What?
The church. Even the king can't violate the protection of sanctuary, and Solomon said the wolf can't cross onto holy ground.
Henry stabs the knife between 2 boards in the wall behind them. The soldiers storm the silo. They close in on the back wall where Valerie and Henry just were. But they're gone. Valerie and Henry run for it. She hears the soldiers, the galloping of horses, the shouts of villagers. But even with all this, Valerie hears the wolf whisper her name.
Valerie. Where are you going?
She trips, but Henry saves her from falling. They run down the alley. An arrow whizzes just by their heads. They turn the corner to the cemetery. There it is, the church. Valerie and Henry run for it, past a row of tall gravestones. Valerie hears the low growl and sees the dark shape tracking her. Halfway across the graveyard now, closer to the church, one of the soldiers raises his bow and fires. The arrow flies hot, straight, and true, right for Valerie, but Henry dives in front of it and takes the arrow instead.
Henry!
Silver-tipped. Lucky I'm not the wolf. Go, Valerie. Go!
But she will not leave him. She looks into his eyes. This guy is amazing. She throws his good arm around her shoulder, and together they run the last 15 yards for sanctuary. The stone gate marks the entrance to the holy ground, but Solomon blocks their way.
We claim sanctuary.
You're not on holy ground yet.
Solomon grips the arrow in Henry's shoulder, pulling it out as Henry agonizes.
And this belongs to me.
Henry staggers back against the church wall, trying to staunch the bleeding. Now she turns, and there it is. The wolf, staring at Valerie with glowing eyes. The soldiers that were chasing Valerie are dead on the ground behind it. Solomon looks at the blood moon. It's low on the horizon.
It's almost daybreak.
Solomon grabs Valerie's hair and pulls his sword to her neck.
You want her alive, don't you?
The wolf glares at Solomon and then looks urgently at the sinking moon. The sky is already getting lighter. Curious villagers, including Roxanne, approach from behind the church. The masked bowman is in the bell tower, crossbow at the ready. Solomon is luring the wolf into range.
First it dies, then you.
Solomon takes another step back, and the bowman pulls the trigger. The wolf jumps. The arrow misses. Solomon releases Valerie and brandishes his sword, charging the wolf. But the wolf clamps down on Solomon's wrist, crunching through bone, biting off his hand. The hand falls into the snow, silver fingernails clutching the silver sword, useless now. Arrows fly at the wolf. Solomon drags himself through the gate, moaning, as the wolf grabs a dead soldier's shield with his teeth and flings it towards the bell tower. It slams into the bowman's chest, impaling him. His body crashes into the bell, tangles in the rope. The bell clangs. Henry grabs Valerie and pulls her to sacred ground. The wolf stops just before the gate. The wolf and Valerie stare at each other, transfixed. Anxious, the wolf reaches out his paw towards Valerie, but as it crosses the line of the gate, its paw starts to catch fire. The wolf retracts, its paw singed.
You can't hide from this. Step across the gate, or I'll kill everyone. Do you understand?
Yes, I understand you.
See how the witch talks to the wolf.
Valerie can't let these people die. She looks back at the wolf and makes a decision. The hardest decision she's ever had to make.
I won't let you destroy my home. I'll go with you to save them.
Roxanne and the villagers watch, moved and ashamed by her bravery. The wolf awaits, dark and terrifying. Suddenly, Henry grabs Valerie's arm, stopping her. Roxanne boldly steps in front of Valerie, careful to remain on sacred ground.
I won't let you sacrifice yourself for us.
Now Prudence pushes through the crowd and stands next to Roxanne and Henry, facing the wolf.
Nor will I.
Nor will I.
Valerie looks around. The people that turned against her are now forming a human wall. The wolf lets loose a furious growl. So close to his prize, but unable to claim it. Then a rooster crows. The blood moon is gone. The first rays of sunlight glint on the church windows. If the wolf doesn't leave now, he will be revealed in his human form. The wolf charges off. Roxanne embraces Valerie, but Solomon rips her away.
You will still burn, witch.
He slams her head against the wall with a sickening thud. Henry charges protectively towards Valerie. Solomon whirls towards him, ready to slash with his sharpened nails. Then, crack! A bullwhip snaps around Solomon's neck. The captain stands over him.
Under the blood moon, a man bitten is a man cursed.
He grabs Solomon's wrist, ripping the bandage off the stump. Poison tendrils spider through his veins.
You could not. My children will be orphans.
My brother had children too.
Forgive your lost sheep, father. I meant only to serve you, to protect us from darkness.
The captain swings his sword. Solomon's head hits the snow. Thud. Roxanne averts her eyes. Valerie doesn't. Suddenly, blood starts to trickle out of Valerie's hair from where she hit the wall. She puts her hand to her head, feels the blood. The world blurs. Our eyes open as Valerie opens hers, looking through a window at snow falling in the night. Her vision is still blurry. She's in her grandmother's bed. Someone sits on the edge. It's grandmother, but something's wrong. Her skin is white, not the color of pale flesh, white, and her eyes are enormous.
My grandmother, what big eyes you have.
The better to see you with, my dear.
Now she sees the strange shape of her grandmother's ears.
What big ears you have, grandmother.
Oh, the better to hear you with, my dear.
Her grandmother slowly opens her mouth to smile. Her teeth are large and pointed.
What big teeth you have, grandmother.
The better to eat you with, my dear.
Then she snaps awake in her own bed. There's blood-stained cloth on her head. Roxanne sleeps beside her. Valerie grabs her red cloak and climbs down the ladder where she sees her mother stirring porridge over the fire.
Valerie, you shouldn't be out of bed. I was so worried. Oh, it looks better.
Suzette ladles out a steaming bowl of porridge with raisins.
I made your favorite, dear.
Mother, where were you last night?
Saw the neighbors dragging me away. I wanted to stay, but now eat up. You need your strength.
Valerie stares at the porridge. Uneasy, she steps away. She grabs a wicker basket, opens the door, and steps out.
Where are you going?
To grandmother's house.
Valerie, that's too far a walk.
I think she's in danger.
A winter storm is blowing in. Valerie kneels in the snow facing the church. The snow here is still red with spilled blood. She crosses herself. With a look of determination, she grabs the basket and hurries down the street. She rounds the corner and sees Henry with a group of armed men, including a few soldiers.
We're going after the wolf before the storm can cover its trail. It'll be human again. We can finally kill it. But...
What is it? Tell me.
Peter is still missing. And I'll do what I have to do.
Henry starts to go when Valerie takes his good arm, stopping him. Her touch electrifies him.
Thank you for everything.
She kisses him gently on the neck. Henry closes his eyes and takes this in, breathing her scent.
That's a good start.
He turns and goes, looking like a warrior now. Madame Lazare watches the men leave from her window. Valerie walks through the snow into the trees, in her Red Riding Hood, carrying her basket. She bundles her cloak, walking faster. She hears something behind her. An animal? She walks even faster. A branch snapping? It's Peter. His face is bruised. There's a cut over one eye, and gloves on his hands. He reaches out, but Valerie stiffens.
Thank God you're all right.
Where were you last night?
Solomon had me thrown in the bowl. Valerie, what, you don't believe me?
She doesn't. She turns around, but Peter blocks her path.
Don't you turn away from me.
She brandishes the knife.
I'll hurt you, Peter.
No, you won't.
He takes a quick stride towards her.
Please don't.
But he keeps coming, and she slashes out with the knife, tearing through his jacket and ripping into his flesh on Peter's side. Valerie grabs the basket and runs through the twisted trees. She struggles until she's out of breath and crying too hard to keep going. She looks back. He's gone. Valerie pounds on the cottage door, pale and quivering. The storm is almost a blizzard.
Grandmother, let me in.
Pull the bobbin, dear.
Valerie rushes inside, slams the door, and throws the bolt. A pot of stew cooks on the fire. The silk curtain is closed. Beyond it, in the dim light, Grandmother sits in bed in her nightgown.
Are you all right? I had a nightmare.
I was just resting. I'll be right out. I made a stew. Have some.
I think the wolf is out there.
We're safe in here.
Valerie scans the forest through the window. No sign of Peter anywhere.
There's no burden so heavy.
That doesn't seem lighter on a full stomach.
That's right. Eat up, dear.
Valerie takes a bite of the hot stew. The cat jumps on the table and looks at the stew, licking its paw.
You were wrong about Henry.
Was I now?
Yes, he saved my life.
Valerie takes another bite, then pauses, dizzy.
I feel hot all of a sudden.
The stew is warming you.
Valerie looks closer at the cat. There's blood on its paw. She looks at the stew.
What is this?
And grandmother stands up as Valerie watches in mute dread. Grandmother pulls off her nightgown, walks towards her, and parts the curtain to reveal...
Father, what are you doing here? Where's grandmother?
I didn't want to kill her. I tried so hard to keep it from her. I had no choice. She finally realized what I am.
What? This can't be. You're lying. Why? Where's she? Father, no. How could you? How could you do this?
I've tried to hide what I am. I wanted you to have a normal childhood, so I've lived a double life, hiding in plain sight, living mostly as a woodcutter. But I've been disrespected, even by my own wife. I couldn't do it anymore. I've settled for less than I deserved. I decided to leave this little village for the city and find richer hunting grounds.
Then why didn't you just go?
The greater the prize, the greater the risk. A wolf can't conquer the city alone. I need another of my kind, someone I could trust. A wolf made of my own bloodline would be even more powerful than me. An ally worth waiting for.
But you had to wait till the blood moon.
Yes. By birthright, the gift went first to my eldest daughter.
Lucy, how did you lure her into the field?
I forged a letter.
We flash to the loft, where Lucy opens a sheet of cream-colored paper. It reads, "Meet me in the wheat field tonight, Henry." We flash again to Lucy clutching the letter in the field, waiting for Henry, but the wolf appears instead.
I was impatient. I didn't realize that she didn't understand me. And the bite didn't change her. I knew there couldn't be any werewolf blood in her. I couldn't be her father. I was furious. I lost control.
God. So you took revenge on Mother.
And her lover. Henry smelled the werewolf that night, and again yesterday. He thought the smell was from your grandmother. He didn't know it was me. But she figured it out. She'd lived with that smell her whole life. It was still on my father's clothes. He was a werewolf too. She just never knew what the smell meant until Henry told her. Then she knew what I was. I never wanted to hurt her. But I had to. After all these years of being so careful.
Valerie's eyes go to her basket on the table. She edges towards it, but César moves closer to her.
More than careful. Perfect. But your mother broke my heart. I made mistakes. Out of passion. Out of jealousy. Now too many signs point to our family. It's only a matter of time now before everyone figures it out. I can't really hide it anymore.
César raises his burnt hand from where the wolf reached across onto holy ground.
It's the final day of the blood moon. One bite, and you can be like me.
Why don't you just force me?
I need you as an ally, not a slave.
I won't do what you do. I can't.
Yes, you can. My dark blood already courses through your veins. Solomon was wrong. He killed his own wife to protect his children. He thought she was cursed. But it isn't a curse. It's a gift. A gift my father gave me. It's total freedom, total power over your own destiny. Look what I've done to this place. They hide during the full moon. They build a temple to me. They make sacrifices to appease me, even when they have nothing to spare. They fear me. I'm stronger than my father was, and as my descendant, you'll be stronger, even stronger than I am.
César steps closer to Valerie.
The world will be at our feet. All your senses will flood with luxurious thrill of power. We'll be unstoppable. Everything I've done is to set us free, to make us what we were truly meant to be.
There must be a God, because you're the devil.
And you're the devil's daughter.
Cesar tilts his head like an animal hearing something. Thunk! An axe splits the door inches from her head. The wood splinters, revealing Peter, who hurls the axe inside. Cesar ducks as Valerie grabs the cauldron from the fire, hurling the scalding stew in Cesar's face. Peter lunges, pinning him to the ground. Cesar flips him over, and the two scuffle so quickly that we can't tell what's going on. Finally, with a burst of adrenaline, Peter shoves Cesar up against the wall.
You're so terrifying when the sun is up.
Peter swings the axe, but Cesar's hand shoots up and stops the axe an inch from his forehead.
How would you know?
He hurls Peter and the axe across the room. Peter smashes against the wall and slumps to the floor. Cesar just kicks the shit out of him. Ribs crack. Cesar is going to kill him.
Mother!
Like a dream, there is Valerie, in her red riding hood, holding the basket. This image of his beautiful daughter is perfect. He feels a father's pride.
I have something for you.
What is it?
I'll show you.
Let me see.
She opens the basket and tilts it towards him, slightly. As Cesar looks down at it, thump! The axe is now in his back. Peter has thrown it. Cesar reaches behind himself with both hands to pull out the axe. He roars in pain. Not human, not animal. The beast is trying to break through. The rage is only making him stronger, but...
I brought you this.
From her basket, she takes Solomon's severed hand. As he struggles to pull out the axe, she drives the razor-sharp silver fingernails deep into her father's gut. A flash to Valerie in the snow outside of the church. She wasn't praying. She was digging out Solomon's hand. Cesar looks at his daughter as the silver begins to course through his veins. His muscles lock up. His pupils dilate, then explode. Then Cesar falls to the floor, dead. Peter steps up and wraps his arms around Valerie. She is still full of anger, fear, hate, but he holds her close until it begins to pass through her. Now she holds him too, as if she will never let go.
We're free now.
They look at each other, deeply connected. And now that it's over, they can finally smile. And they do.
Get me out of here. Please, just get me out of here.
Peter winces in pain.
What?
He bit me.
We flash back to the chaos of the fight. Now in slow motion, Cesar twists his neck and bites right into Peter's arm. Valerie takes Peter's arm and sees the bloody bite. Poison tendrils are already moving through his veins.
Peter.
When the blood moon rises, I'll be like him. A beast.
Peter pushes past Valerie and out into the snow, going to his knees. And then Valerie is there, on her knees facing him, looking deep into his eyes. This man links heaven and earth for her. He tries to push her away, but she holds tight.
Peter.
And now she finds his lips with her mouth. Peter returns her kiss, desperate for her mouth, and they can't contain themselves any longer. Their hands frantically grope under each other's clothes. Gorgeous predators with burning fingers, hot lips, bare skin.
Peter.
He pushes her back into the snow and presses against her, temperatures rising, finally indulging their bodies, the red cloak spread beneath them like a dazzling crimson rose on the luminescent white-hot snow. Breathing her hardest, Valerie looks up at the bright, burning sun. We shift to Valerie and Peter in a small boat. César's body lays below.
No one can know about your father. They'll hang you for being the daughter of the wolf.
They can never find his body.
Peter stops rowing and rolls the body into the river. As César drifts down, his shirt floats open, revealing that his belly is misshapen, filled with stones. The boat returns to the pier. Valerie steps onto the deck and turns to Peter, but he's rowing away without her.
Peter.
I have to leave you. You won't be safe with me until I learn to control myself.
Valerie's heart ruptures. In a flash, she sees the abyss, the sun, the stars. She sees herself wading in the water, rushing in after him, climbing mountains, hunting tigers, the rise and fall of tides. But she understands. She has to let him go.
I'll wait for you.
Fog drifts across the full moon. Cherry trees are blooming. It is spring. Out of the fog, a horse and rider emerge. It is Henry. He now wears a full chain suit adorned with a purple cross. Solomon's sword at his hip. A group of soldiers gallops behind him. In her red riding hood, Valerie walks the deep woods. A wolf howls in the distance. Maybe it was a normal wolf, but maybe it wasn't. Valerie smiles, her eyes shining in the moonlight.